Well, technically, I lied. Aircraft orders are going to be on hold just for today, so you're not too spoiled. But don't worry, there is a lot to cover, including a major US airline being fined $140 million, Turkish Airlines getting approval to expand its route network to a very big country, and Airbus A321neos are set to be grounded at an airline. Where should I begin? Of course, no doubt, the major US carrier being fined. That is Southwest, who have been fined officially $140 million USD following the US Department of Transportation, or DOT as it is more commonly referred to, rulings over the company's 2022 operational meltdown. A fine in the region of $140 million is substantially higher than the average, and this was definitely mentioned when the ruling was handed down. However, it is what key officials within the United States call as essential. Southwest's mammoth operational meltdown impacted many customers' travel and was disastrous for the industry at such a crucial point of the year. Thus, a hefty fine sets a bit of an example that this kind of thing isn't to be accepted and that consequences will come on those who fail to serve their customer base adequately and fairly. Interestingly, as part of the ruling made by the Department of Transportation, a USD $75 flight credit will be applied from now on to customers if arrival is delayed more than 3 hours. However, this is only applicable if reasons are within Southwest's control. And I'm sure, no doubt, with all the legalities around it, it's probably going to be pretty tough for you to actually claim this USD $75. If I'm sure you're aware you've had any experiences with trying to claim money back or deal with airlines after a travel inconvenience, it is a complete nightmare. But this is a recap, so it is worth me mentioning that this is something that is now available. Southwest says it is pleased it has reached a consumer-friendly settlement and moved past the disruption it says was caused by Storm Elliot. So, following the emergence of Storm Elliot towards the latter stages of 2022, Southwest's operations were hampered, and they were forced to cancel tens of thousands of flights. Additionally, the airline noted that issues with its scheduling meant it could not fulfill its operations adequately even despite the ongoing storm. According to FlightAware, on the 28th of December 2022, now nearly a year ago, which is pretty scary to say, the airline cancelled 71% of its flying schedule, which represented many customers being impacted. However, the handling of the problem on the part of Southwest did result in more of an uproar, as it became a far more significant issue just simply because of their handling. There was miscommunication, lines at airports, and what people would say, a lack of transparency from executives. As a result of this lack of transparency from the top, it trended downwards to the employees who worked at these airports and were extremely pressured, understaffed, abused, and so much more nationwide. They were just unable to help these passengers sufficiently because they weren't getting the required information to make the situation better. The aftermath saw some passengers unable to also be rebooked on flights during the holiday period, and also this was followed by a lack of compensation. It would ultimately, though, be revealed that while the storm caused the issues, there was far more deep-rooted problems in the Southwest operation. And what was that? Well, further analysis highlighted this problem with the dated systems. This was highlighted as an essential consideration when understanding just what had taken place across the peak travel season, and what, in turn, caused that massive collapse. An airline must have an adequate working system for ease of day-to-day operations. However, a sound run system would also prove essential in situations like Storm Elliot, as it would try its best to hold up. It was found that the systems at Southwest had needed an overhaul for some time. However, the company neglected these due to the substantial costs that would be incurred. This executive decision was in line with a model where saving money was prioritized. However, the string ultimately ran out, and Storm Elliot subsequently brought down all these outdated systems. Moving over to Turkish Airlines, and there's some pretty big news for them as they're inching closer to officially launching flights towards Australia, with approval being granted following a proposal. The bilateral agreement means the major airline will make one-stop services a reality sooner rather than later as part of their global network growth. Previously, 7 services per week were permitted between Turkey and Australia, but now there'll be a substantial increase. Carriers from the two countries will now be allowed to operate 28 28 frequencies per week in 2024. However, this will increase towards 35 flights per week from the northern winter season of 2025 as part of this new agreement. Now, included in the 35 weekly flights in and out of Australia are the following cities, such as Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. However, the new upcoming Western Sydney airport has also been included in this. Singapore Changi will likely be the stopover point for Turkish Airlines' planned operations towards crucial Australian markets. Some expect a formal announcement from Turkish Airlines as unveiling their planned Australian operations to be imminent. The scope of weekly service also offers them a substantial amount of flexibility when you come to think of it. So, what does this do all in all? Well, gives more competition towards Europe. Adding Turkish Airlines to the Australian market will provide a lot of positives for customers. At least that is what the view is at the moment. Ultimately, the airline will be another connection towards European destinations, alongside, think of it, its very expansive global network that can be reached through cities in Turkey. However, even with the approval being granted, there have been question marks over the treatment of Qatar Airways, who had their appeal to increase flights to Australia rejected. In recent months, Turkish Airlines unveiled sizable expansion plans. They want to become an industry-leading carrier across the next decade, and as part of these plans, key executives believe the company will fly 800-plus aircraft by 2033. Alongside this, they want to see their revenues reach $50 billion annually, while contributing substantially to the Turkish economy. The company needs more aircraft to fuel these expansion plans that include a network that will span over 400 destinations. A commitment to fleet was highlighted through a most recent order for 220 Airbus aircraft. Key untapped markets such as Australia are part of the considered essential market that they want to serve in the future, moving them forward as what they hope to be a global force. On to the final story of today, and it's not necessarily great news, but Air Transat is preparing to be impacted by the ongoing Pratt Whitney engine crisis in 2024, with A321neo LR groundings expected. The airline has said 3 A321LRs are currently grounded following these engine issues, but they expect this to increase towards 5 or 6 aircraft by the end of the fiscal year. Air Transat ultimately joins many companies across North America, and you could extend this to the globe, currently being impacted by the engine crisis. When you factor in the uncertainty around inspections, removals, and replacements of geared turbofan engines, it means understanding what aircraft can return to service or are grounded remains unclear. Despite these issues with the A321LR that are out of their control, they still expect to grow capacity thanks to the introduction of new aircraft. This also includes leasing more aircraft in the coming year. Short-term leases, and even extending existing leases, can dramatically improve the utilization of current assets amid exterior issues. In the case of Air Transat, well, these are solutions they believe will provide sufficient enough cover while it navigates this storm. Air New Zealand, in my opinion, has acted really as a primary example of an airline navigating scheduling challenges with their existing fleet or by drafting in aircraft for the short term. The New Zealand flag carrier is impacted by the Pratt Whitney issues just like Air Transat, but in the 2010s it faced troubles with the 787 following engine difficulties and was also forced to resort to leasing. That is going to conclude today's aviation news recap. Thank you so much for your support, and don't worry when I say this, I do mean it now. Tomorrow there will be a massive order to cover, and probably a lot of the days after that there'll be significant orders I do want to take a look at as we roll into Christmas. Think of it as a little bit of an early gift. Thank you so much for your support here on the channel. I hope you're all staying safe and taking care. I know the festive season isn't all that good for everyone, so my thoughts are with anyone that may be struggling during this period. That is why the videos are going to continue every single day throughout the festive period for those to maybe have something to look forward to, even if it is 8 to 9 minutes recapping our industry. Thank you so much again. Please take care, do also be safe, and if you are enjoying the holiday period, make the most of it. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, with a new order and many other industry developments. And we'll fly.